30 seconds to undock.
Houston and station, we have physical separation.
Houston copies.
Station cooking.
Endeavour undocking from the International Space Station, right on schedule at 10:55 p.m. Central, 11:55 Eastern, as the two spacecraft fly 215 miles above Bolivia, tracking northeasterly. Endeavour setting her sails one last time, departing the International Space Station after 12 missions to the orbiting complex.
We're going to issue the epic command. Disregard, station is in attitude control.
International Space Station now in attitude control.
Endeavour departing. Fair winds and fallen seas, guys. Yeah, thanks, Ron. Appreciate all the help. It's a pleasure serving with you boys. Go Navy.
Station Expedition 28, flight engineer Ron Guerin ringing the traditional bell and welcoming Endeavour on its departure from the International Space Station. The 12th mission of Endeavour to the orbiting complex. That's virtually half of Endeavour's missions have been devoted to International Space Station assembly. Endeavour continuing to slowly back away from the International Space Station.
Houston, Endeavour on air to ground 2, going to block 8 Alpha.
Copy block 8 Alpha, and I have the station attitude for RPOP if you'd like to copy.
Ready to copy, Houston.
Pitch yaw roll minus 0.9 plus 0.9 minus 0.2.
Endeavour in the International Space Station flying high off the northern coast of South America, crossing the coastline of French Guiana. The crew now has powered down the docking mechanism and activated the small vernier thruster jets on the orbiter as it continues to back away from the International Space Station. Orbital sunrise coming about 10 minutes from now as the two spacecraft fly high over Europe. Endeavour was docked to the International Space Station for 11 days, 17 hours, and 41 minutes. It's the 36th shuttle mission to the International Space Station. Space shuttles have been docked to the space station for a total of 267 days, 20 hours, and 2 minutes. During those 36 missions, the shuttles and stations crews have conducted joint operations with hatches open for a total of 226 days, 16 hours, and 49 minutes.
Houston, Endeavour, ground 2, the HHL matches the TCS.
Endeavour, we copy.
HHL is a handheld laser and TCS is a trajectory control sensor. Rendezvous tools that the crew uses on board for targeting of the distance between Endeavour and the International Space Station. As Endeavour departs, it leaves behind the space station with a mass in space of 904,900 pounds, or about 410,000 kilograms. The pressurized volume of the space station is 32,333 cubic feet. And the complex stretches 357 feet from end to end along the truss structure and 240 feet long along the pressurized volume. Endeavour's now 175 feet from the International Space Station, backing away straight down the velocity vector, inching away at about 0.3 of a foot per second. Should get television back in about 15 minutes through the Shuttle KU band antenna system. Orbital sunrise coming in about 5 minutes. Now about 230 feet from the space station, and the Russian segment solar arrays are back in sun track. About 22 minutes after the hour is the point where Endeavour should reach a point about 400 feet from the International Space Station. And it is at that distance that pilot Greg Johnson will take over manual flying of Endeavour through a 360-degree fly around or rotation of the International Space Station.
Houston, Endeavour.
Go ahead, Endeavour.
Yeah, as we come up on about our 200th sunrise of the mission, we can clearly see AMS now on station and ELC-3. I just want to congratulate the whole team on the ground and the Expedition 27 and 28 crews for all the hard work that you guys have put into this. We're the ones that get to see this incredible view, but you're all with us in spirit, and this is really a new day for science aboard the space station. So thanks to all of you.
Endeavour, thanks very much for the kind words. We'll pass the message, and it's a pleasure for us to be part of the team.
You are welcome. From Houston, we've switched the POR to CG.
We copy CG.
And what I really meant was the HHL aim point is now CG.
Copy.
Houston, we're going to block 9 Alpha.
Copy 9 Alpha.
Block 9 Alpha, and the rendezvous is the initiation of the fly around at a distance of 425 feet from the International Space Station, as the two spacecraft fly high above Europe. Once Endeavour has reached a distance outside 400 feet, the station solar arrays can be unlocked. They're beta gimbal assemblies, the solar alpha rotary joints. Pilot Greg Johnson targeting the fly-around maneuver, loading those targets into the onboard computers of Endeavour. And the fly around has now been initiated at start time 11:20 p.m. Central Time, 12:20 a.m. Eastern Time. The fly around begins with Endeavour at a distance of 460 feet out in front of the International Space Station. Endeavour in the International Space Station, high above the Czech Republic, tracking easterly across Poland. We'll track across the border between Belarus and the Ukraine, and then southern Russia, and then Kazakhstan. About 480 feet separate Space Shuttle Endeavour from the International Space Station. This view from the station looking at Endeavour, and we now have a television view from Endeavour looking through the orbiter docking system back toward the International Space Station. Range 490 feet. Endeavour's guidance system targeted the fly around about, as it turns out, about 3 minutes early. But shuttle pilot Greg Johnson now flying Endeavour through the initial stages of a 360-degree rotation around the station. This distance view from 560 feet as Endeavour continues to fly around the station, now coming up on about a 90-degree, the 90-degree point of the 360-degree rotation. The International Space Station stretching 357 feet from tip to tip. The pressurized volume, perpendicular volume there is about 240 feet. At the bottom, the docking port from which Endeavour departed at 10:55 p.m. Central Time Sunday. The European Columbus Science Laboratory off to the left, and the Japanese experiment module Kibo, the Japanese word for hope, off to the right. And then heading down the length of the volume, the Harmony connecting node to which those modules are attached, in turn is attached to the U.S. laboratory Destiny. Atop Destiny is the center point of that almost 360 degree or 60-foot long truss structure. And then the first U.S. element of the International Space Station launched back in December of 1998, the Unity module, is the connecting point from the U.S. segment to the Russian segment of the station. Next in line, the first ever component of the International Space Station, the Zarya control module, with its solar arrays mostly retracted in accordion style. The Zvezda module on the back end is the next module with its solar arrays deployed, served as the early living quarters and the control section of the Russian segment of the complex. And then on the back end with the scissor-shaped solar arrays is the European Space Agency automated transfer vehicle known as the Johannes Kepler. It's been a part of the space station since late February when it arrived, delivering supplies to the station. It's one of several visiting vehicles that the station hosts, including the Russian Soyuz capsule, which delivers crews to and from the station, and also the Progress supply vehicles. Now directly over the top of the International Space Station, looking straight down from a range of 600 feet. Each of the pair of U.S. solar arrays stretch 240 feet tip to tip, and each one of those has its own radiator that you see stretching off perpendicular to the truss structure. That truss structure has an elaborate system of cooling, ammonia cooling, for heat rejection, for all of the electronics equipment, basically the power systems of the International Space Station. The solar arrays, 4 pair of them, U.S. solar arrays, track the sun, garner energy, store it into batteries along that truss structure. That power then transferred into the station for use by all of the science equipment in operation. Endeavour and the International Space Station now high above western China, tracking southeasterly. The ground track will take the 2 spacecraft high above Thailand and then Indonesia, and then directly across central Australia. 640 feet above and now slightly behind the International Space Station. During Endeavour's almost 12 days of docked operations at the International Space Station, it left behind the alpha magnetic spectrometer, now a permanent component on the starboard side of the station's truss structure. The AMS has a mass in space of 15,200 pounds. Also delivered to the orbiting complex an express logistics carrier with several spare components for use when needed at the International Space Station. The Express, the ELC, as it's known by its acronym, has a mass in space of 13,400 pounds. The shuttle crew also left behind the enhanced ISS boom assembly, which is formerly known as the orbiter boom sensor system. That weight in space totaled 622 pounds. But in addition to that, there was some internal transfers, and some of the most important items that are transferred are nitrogen and oxygen to the space station throughout the docked phase of the mission. Endeavour transferred 18 pounds of nitrogen to the space station, 17 pounds of oxygen to the ISS high pressurized gas tanks, and throughout the mission 278 pounds of oxygen was transferred to the station atmosphere, both for metabolic use and for repressurization of the station's atmosphere while Endeavour was docked. ...640 feet from the International Space Station. Endeavour now approaching the fly around of about 180 degrees now of the 360 degree fly around. So Endeavour's now almost directly behind the station.
Houston, putting block 8 Bravo in work.
We copy 8 Bravo.
That block of activity means that the shuttle crew is now going to initiate a radar acquisition, switching the KU band antenna system from the comm mode to radar mode.
Endeavour, Houston on 2 for ISS attitude.
Go.
Pitch yaw roll -2.4, -6.0, plus 0.4.
-2.4, -6.0, and plus 0.4.
Good read.
Beautiful view of the Russian segment of the station with Endeavour 600 feet away.
Endeavour, Houston on 2 for radar acquisition.
Go ahead.
Mark, we need you to check your config on A1 upper, please. We see a couple switches out of config.
Okay, just call them up to us, Houston.
KU power to standby.
Got it.
Okay, it looks like you're in a good config now.
All right, thank you.
.600 feet from the space station, tracking toward the northern coast of Australia. Endeavour now behind and below.
Standby, and then all the way there. After going to panel, we went power to on. I think we need power back on again.
We concur. Mark, we see a good KU config now, thanks.